The following film was produced by Year 9 construction students at Madeley Academy in Shropshire. It was part of a CABE project called Engaging Places. CABE supports and is interested in all things to do with construction and the built environment. During this project, which was titled Stories in Stone, the students learnt about the built environment in Wolverhampton and Madeley and how the buildings have influenced the way people live and work. In Wolverhampton, the students saw a range of architectural styles from Gothic to Victorian and finished their tour in the art gallery, which is an interesting building in its own right. On the Madeley trip, they took photos and made drawings of the buildings. They then reconstructed the buildings from the high street as models and then produced a film to tell the story of this historic coal mining town.
Welcome to Madeley. We're making a film called
Look Where You're Going!
Madeley is an old town surrounded by a new one.
Our brand new school, Madeley Academy, is in this new town of Telford.
But we think it's quite odd really because Telford was started
Way back in 1968, so the new bits are only about 40 years old, confusing it then.
It carried on getting bigger in the 70s and 80s, and it's still growing today.
Up to 200,000 is planned for.
the biggest town in Shropshire, a city really.
But our street shows much older buildings from the small town Madeley. It's been here since Saxon times.
Let's have a walk down the street through Madeley and see a really old building.
Madeley Court. It's Tudor and was built on the site of a community of monks, a priory.
This is actually only the gatehouse. The building was sited on the old Priory Grange farm, which was closed when Henry got rid of the monasteries.
If you think Henry VIII lived a long time ago, the priory was founded in 1700s by the abbess, a woman named Milberger, who later became a saint.
So Madeley was already at least 300 years old when it was mentioned in the famous Domesday Book in 1086.
Even today, now it's a hotel, parts of Madeley Court are left from the 2000s. But the man who built the gatehouse was Sir Robert Brooks, Speaker of the House of Commons, and he did in the 1500s the famous Abraham Darby, who worked on the smelting iron in nearby Colebrook Dale, hired part of the court in 1715. See the towers? We made the tops with a circle of card, which he cut a line through and then glued it to the cone shape together.
Let's look at another old house. This one's on Madeley High Street.
It's 61 High Street and it's made out of half timber. It's probably about 400 years old. And these black bits are the timber.
Bits in between are what they call wattle and daub, and the painted white. The black pattern is typical of this area and is called Midland Upright.
This one's an old one too, and historic. It's one of the places that Charles II hid after he lost the Battle of Worcester. It's called the Old Hall Barn.
Charles had to move about, staying with the local Roman Catholic families to hide from Oliver Cromwell's soldiers. If they found him, they might have executed him, as they had his father, Charles I.
Those are some really old buildings. Now let's have a look at some Victorian buildings.
Madeley really grew in Victorian times. People came from all over the country to work here. One of the things we have here in Madeley is good quality clay. It was mined at the local brickle. Some older local people say brickle.
Because there were lots of bricks made in Madeley. They were used in the high street to make many buildings, like the Jubilee building.
What you see now is only facade. That was the bit of the building that was left after it got knocked down.
But before we go to them, we must see Captain Webb's childhood home.
It may not look like much, but this is where the famous swimmer Webb was born and lived before he moved to Dawley. He was first man brave enough and strong enough to swim the channel, like David Walliams from the Little Britain did in 2006. Captain Webb used to practice by swimming in the Severn, which is a major river from the shore away from here. Even in those days, the Severn was a dangerous and powerful river, so Webb must have had lots of bottle.
But he went too far when he tried to swim the Niagara Falls. He drowned.
Our last building is the famous Anstice. Its proper full name is the Anstice Memorial Working's Men Institute, or STUDE for short. It was started in 1868. We know that because of the large bricks outside here. It had to be rebuilt after a fire in 1870, but has been in use ever since.
It was originally meant to give a home and somewhere to eat, drink and socialise to the men who came to Madeley looking for work in the mines, quarries and factories.
Did you know that the first coal mine in Madeley was in the 1200s and the last in 1967? There are no more miners in Madeley, but the Anstice is still a very important building. It has a sprung dance floor, room for 200 people for bingo, and of course a pub.
Those are some of our buildings in Madeley. Some historic and some are haunted. Madeley Hall has a ghost of a woman in a poke bonnet and silk shawl. Some are attractive and some are ugly, but they're all important. So next time when you're walking through your town, why not do what we've done and
look where you're going!